Hello again, everybody. It's me, Madame Macabre, and welcome to another video. Boy, oh boy, guys, do I have a story for you today. So, as I'm sure you've already put together by now from the title of this video, it is in regards to cosplay and buying versus making costumes. Now, before anybody gets derailed thinking it's something that it's not gonna be, this is not a video that is crapping on people who like to buy their costumes. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with it. Not everybody has the time to make costumes or the ability. Doesn't take away the fact that they still enjoy dressing up and doing cosplay. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to. So I am not anti-buying costumes at all. I just had a really bad experience that reminded me that, you know what, I think making is definitely for me, because I just can't trust somebody else doing it for me ever again. Okay, with that little bit, there goes the cat. That's fine, let's just have a cuddle puddle while I'm trying to, yeah. And he bites her. Now, with that little bit out of the way, let's move on to the actual content of this story. So, basically, I have been cosplaying for about 6 years now, and up until very recently, I had never once bought a costume before. I have always made my own costumes, either from scratch or when I was very first starting out, I would find some pieces at thrift stores and things, and I would alter them. Anyway though, so in these 6 years, I had never gone to a cosplay website or a tailor and commissioned or purchased a pre-made costume. I had only ever made things myself. Now, the reason I decided to try using a tailor for a pre-made costume, or custom-made, I should say, for the first time was because I wanted to do a costume that I knew I did not have the experience or skill set to take on yet. It would be a little too much of a leap for my own personal experience. At least that's what I had psyched myself up to think at the time. See, as you probably saw from one of my last vlog entries, I did a Bayonetta cosplay. And Bayonetta is actually a costume I've wanted to do for 3.5 years, so almost as long as I have been cosplaying, I have dreamed about doing a Bayonetta cosplay, but it just never happened because every time I would think about it, try and get the courage, I'd find a bodysuit pattern and I'd think, look into costs of materials and everything. The actual thought of making it and putting it together always shut me down. I have worked with lots of different types of fabrics, but I still, to this day, have not done a whole lot of work with stretch pleather. That's just not something I have delved into yet, and I know stretchy bodysuits that need to cling to you and have certain stretch and measurements and everything to work right can be incredibly tricky, and I feel I could take it on if it was just a normal bodysuit, but if you've ever seen Bayonetta's costume, that's not a normal bodysuit. There's this window here, there's a bunch of cutouts and things in the legs, there's embroidery on the stomach, there's all these little details that I was just terrified thinking about trying to do myself and wondering how I would even go about it with the tools I had at the time. And so, over the years, I just never did it. Well, this past year, as SakuraCon was coming up, I decided, you know what, I really want this to be the year that I finally do this dream cosplay. I still am not comfortable with my ability trying to take on a bodysuit like this because I've done Victorian, I've done steampunk, I've done tons of different kinds of complex costume pieces, so I know how to sew lots of things. It's just bodysuits that terrify me. Specifically, stretch pleather bodysuits, because I feel like that's even less forgiving than even spandex. Anyway, I ended up having a little bit of extra money in my savings, and I decided, you know what, I would spend close to this anyway, just buying materials, not to mention the amount of time that would go into it if I made it myself. Heck, I may even have to spend twice the money if I try and I screw something up and I can't fix it and I have to start over. So I will just take this money that I would have put into buying materials and I will try and find a good tailor and commission them to make it for me, because, that's somebody who their profession is to make nice costume pieces. They'll know what they're doing. They'll have worked with this material. It'll be fine. So I'll go to somebody else. Well, this is where the story takes a darker turn. See, I had done a ton of research looking around. The problem is, because Bayonetta, and I wanted to do the original Bayonetta, not the Bayonetta 2 costume, and the original Bayonetta is quite a few years old. It's not a recent, I guess, relevant costume. I mean, she's an iconic character, and she's never not going to be recognizable and loved, but it's not necessarily relevant the first game in a series that's about to become a trilogy. Anyway, you get my point. It's not the most recent relevant costume, so not a lot of seamstresses and tailors had similar costumes or examples of Bayonetta type jumpsuits available in their catalog of photos. I couldn't even find like in their old portfolios of work. So it wasn't looking good. I was thinking, okay, I guess I am gonna have to bite the bullet and just try to do it myself. But that is when I finally found a tailor who had an example of a Bayonetta suit. Now, as much as they would deserve to get put on blast here, I think I'm going to withhold from sharing their identity just because I don't want them to go all vindictive and try and come after me, even though I'm not doing anything wrong, giving an honest review. I just don't want to open a can of worms by like naming them here and making a big stink out of it. So I'm gonna leave out the name of the tailor just to cover that end. But let's just say I was not a fan of their work. Which is sad because I have seen other examples of their work turn out amazing, and I've seen tons of people happy with their work, so I don't know why my work came as flawed and dissatisfactory as it did. So I should start with, I didn't just go blindly into working with the first tailor I found who had examples of the work. It definitely drew me in because they did in their portfolio have a Bayonetta suit that they had done before. And there was tons of detailed photos of it. It looked great. I'd actually seen that particular suit stolen by online costume shops, like using their suit as their pictures, you know, the ones that take good looking pictures and then they put it on their site and then they send you like crap that looks nothing like it. Well, the fact that their suit looked good enough that people were stealing it, the photos of it, you know, that should have said good things. And I decided to look into them. I looked through their portfolio. I looked up reviews on them. The vast majority were just great raving reviews. Everybody was happy. The quality of the work was super high. They were all super happy and it was all great. And I thought, okay, this seems like it's a pretty safe bet to go with. So I reached out and messaged the tailor and I asked him what his quotes were. And he gave me a quote of around $600 for this suit. I know a lot of you guys are probably like clutching your pearls right now at that price, but just understand like that's actually pretty reasonable for that type of costume considering it's gonna take stretch pleather and it's gonna take a lot of it because I am almost 6 feet tall. I'm over 6 feet tall when I wear the Bayonetta heels. That's a lot of stretch pleather, that's a lot of detail, it's a lot of fitting, it's a lot of custom tailoring. And for a good costume with good materials, it seemed justified to me because he literally gave his reasoning for the prices is we do good work and we use the best materials we can find. So, of course, you can find a cheaper version of the costume somewhere else in a pre-made site, but it's not gonna be the same because, we put that money into giving you a better piece. So I thought that was reasonable and fair, so I decided to go ahead and commission him. Now, at first, I had no reason to feel suspicious or concerned. Everything went professionally and normal from my perspective. He asked me for all my measurements, for any specifications I wanted. You know, I gave him all the sizes, all the measurements, everything he would possibly need to fit that sucker to me like a glove. And he's like, great, thank you, that's all I need. I will send you an update when I am nearly finished, and then another one when it is on its way. And I thought, that's great, that's perfect, you know, he's opening this communication with me, I feel good and confident. Well, that only lasted for a while. See, as time went on, I should mention, I ordered this suit at the beginning of January. I needed the suit by the end of March 31st. So there was an entirety of 3 months to make this suit. Now, mind you, I told him specifically that the whole reason I was buying this costume is because I wanted to debut it at SakuraCon. So I gave him the time that the convention happened and that I needed the suit by then. So he was all, okay, that's good, fine, I'll get it to you by then. Well, time passes, more time passes, you know, I'm still comfortable for a while. It's not until we are getting closer and closer to the convention and I still never got a single email from the tailor since I last sent him my measurements. Finally, as it enters the month of March and I still haven't heard anything from the tailor, I shoot an email like, hey, how's it going? I haven't heard anything from you for 2 months and I'm just wondering if my costume's on its way. The convention I needed it for is getting closer. Just want to make sure everything's going smoothly. Thanks. I get a really quick response, which is kind of surprising to me. I'm like, wow, they got back real fast. And it was just a letter basically going, so sorry about the delays. The holidays sort of held everything up, but I promise I will get you your suit on time. And I thought, okay, you know, at least I feel a little better now. You know, I got a response. They're gonna make sure to get me the costume. It's a little weird that the holidays held you up because, you know, it's February, like January passed, February passed. We're into March now. You should have had enough time to recover from the holidays, but okay, you said you're gonna get it to me. Weeks pass. The convention is 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away, and he's saying it's going to take 3 to 5 days to ship. I'm sweating bullets now at this point. I still haven't been given a shipping date, any idea when to expect the costume, nothing. And the convention just keeps getting closer and closer. So I shoot another email. Hey, I know you said you were gonna get it to me, but have you sent it out to ship yet? Can I have a shipping number? If so, the convention's getting really close. Please let me know if there's gonna be any issues. And I got another immediate response. And that's when my heart sank because it was word for word the exact same message from last time. And that's where I realized it was an automated response because it came super fast and it was the exact same, oh, sorry, we got held up by the holidays and we'll make sure to get you your thing in time. So I am sweating bullets now, not sure what I'm supposed to do because I had already sent my money over at this point. I knew I could make a PayPal claim, but it was just really stressful. And it came down to a week before the convention that I needed the costume for, that it finally arrived with no warning. I never got my shipping number, never got any way to track it. It came and it wasn't even in a good box, it was just like in a pouch. And I get the costume, scared of what it's gonna look like when I open it because of the nightmare experience I've had. And when I look at the suit, my first thoughts are, okay, maybe I was stressing out over nothing because the suit, it was made mostly of very nice material. The stretch pleather is nice, heavyweight, it's gonna last for a long time. The stitch work looks good, the detail work looks good. I was really happy with it. One thing I did notice that really concerned me was that in the open back and the sides of the legs where Bayonetta has exposed skin, he put this really weird, like, chiffon. It was supposed to, from back when we had discussed in my order, way back in the beginning, I had mentioned wanting it to be made of stretch pleather and stretch mesh. That was skin color. And this was not a stretch mesh. This was like a really cheap, whitish clear chiffon. Let me actually find it for you so you guys can see. This super high quality that I can just peel apart with my fingers. It just falls apart on its own. You can just practically break it. It's, there we go. Super high quality stretch mesh, you guys. It's gonna last. That's not gonna burst. So that was red flag number one. But despite that really cheap looking material in the legs and on the back, I was thinking, okay, well, as long as the costume still looks and fits nice, it's no problem. Well, I go to try on the costume and lo and behold, even though I paid a ridiculous amount of money to get a tailor-made costume with my measurements, all those crazy specific. I literally went over to my mom's house so she could help me get the hard to get measurements and the weird different things for a bodysuit to make sure they were accurate. This suit might as well have been like just one of the made to go patterns, like default with no alterations made. Literally the only alteration that he had made was that it was long enough for my legs and long enough for my arms, which thank God that was at least done. I could not stand up straight in this suit. I had to arch over like this because even though he added length to the legs and the arms, he didn't add any to the torso. Do you have any idea how the human body works? It's not, when people are taller, they're not just longer legs and longer arms. It's our whole bodies are a little bit longer. Our torsos are a little bit longer. It's just, he didn't add any length to the torso. So I was hunched over like this because I physically couldn't stand up because he didn't add enough length. Now mind you, I paid out the nose to have a high quality, well-made costume that fit me like a glove. And this word I can't say without demonetizing my video took my money for a custom-made piece and just used a pre-made pattern. You know, honestly, my guess is that the reason it took so long to get there is that he probably was working on a bunch of other commissions of like really quick, because it seems like the majority of the things he sold were like schoolgirl uniforms from a lot of those animes, and those are real quick to make. You can make a lot of them. He probably got caught up in doing a billion of those, kept procrastinating on my suit because it was going to be a pain in the butt, and then when it came time to do mine, he ran out of time to do a custom pattern, so he just, you know, altered a pre-existing one, but didn't add any length there and was like, hey, it'll be fine. So I paid for this and I didn't get what I paid for, see? Now at this point I was panicking because there's no way I could wear this costume to the convention. It doesn't fit, I can't even stand up, and I couldn't even lift my arms. It was horrible. And it was at this point that my sister came in to save the day because I feel like I could have altered the costume with the base, you know, of the pre-existing costume. I could have figured it out from there to make it myself, but I was such a stressed out mess from the convention, less than a week away. I finally got this. I put so much money into it, and it doesn't even fit. This was supposed to be custom tailored, and it doesn't even fit. I was a mess. So my sister, who also does a lot of sewing, stepped in, could see how stressed out I was, and offered to alter it to fit me. Fortunately, she was able to undo the seams on the shoulder, and then we had almost matching pleather, and then just add length here so that it could actually fit my torso. And then we had to add freaking gussets to the armpits because I couldn't lift my arms because this moron of a tailor doesn't understand how human bodies and tall people work. So we had to add gussets to the armpits, which I'm eventually gonna go and probably change the material she used because it's a little bit like see-through mesh, but it did the job for as quick as it was. We had to use what we had at hand. But so basically the only reason I was able to wear this costume to the convention and, you know, get it together and make it look good was thanks to my sister. So no credit even to that stupid tailor. If anybody wants to ask me in regards to why my jumpsuit looks so good, I will thank my sister, not that tailor. Though I should say that it wasn't entirely store-bought costume. I made all the guns, I made the shoes, I made the wig, and I did the ribbons and all the other little details and chains and stuff. So literally the only thing I didn't make was the jumpsuit. So it wasn't an entirely store-bought thing. But the horror didn't end there, you see. Remember how I mentioned that good old chiffon mesh material? So we ended up leaving it in because it was just so much of a time crunch, there wasn't much that could be done. And it surprisingly lasted the majority of the day. Thank God I only planned on wearing the costume for one day, because about, I want to say like 6 to 7 p.m. is when everything came crashing down all at once. So I'm out walking around in the outside space because I'm dying in that pleather bodysuit, and photographer after photographer after photographer keeps wanting to stop me to do little impromptu photo shoots because, let's be honest, you don't see Bayonetta cosplayers very often. It's a very rare costume to see nowadays. So lots of people wanting pictures, and of course because Bayonetta, I had to do all these crazy poses and stuff that require stretching around and moving. But that cheap chiffon didn't like the idea of being stretched around and moved, and it wasn't happy. So, as you can imagine, about 2 or 3 minutes into one particular shoot, I'm trying to do a pose where I'm standing up on this tall thing so you can get a low angle, and I just feel material burst. I look down, the leg of my jumpsuit is like, so basically the mesh, so the legs, there's a slit like this, the mesh is in between the slits, basically holding the portions of the pant leg, the pleather, together. So when the chiffon burst, it went like it just opened because there's nothing to hold it there anymore. First, it happens on one. So I go down to the repair station and I spend like 15 minutes safety pinning up the entire leg, about this far apart, so it's still functional till the rest of the day. I go out, get stopped by another photographer, burst the other one. So I have to go back again and get the other leg safety pinned up. And at this point, I'm getting really frustrated, even madder than I already was with that stupid tailor. And then finally, the back bursts, and that's it. I basically needed to go back, be done with the con for that day, because I was done. But that was my experience working with a professional tailor who, mind you, had good reviews. A lot of people got pieces and they loved it. They got them quickly. They had great feedback. They were perfectly fitted. So I don't understand why my experience was so garbage, but it was, and it was enough of a bad experience that I swear to God am never, ever going to go to a tailor when it's something I can make myself. So anyway, that's about all the time I have for today's story. I've rambled on plenty long enough, but I hope you were able to glean some valuable information from my misfortune. Mind you, you may have a completely different experience than me. You may have had every costume you buy have been a perfect success story and you are happy to keep doing it. And if that's the case, I am so very happy for you, and I hope you continue to have amazing experiences. Heck, this might even be just an anomaly because I ordered such a hard to make costume. It's so difficult. The materials are weird. It's very specific, and it's a bodysuit. It may have literally just been that, I got screwed over because of circumstances and just all the wrong things at the wrong time. So, have you had a horror story working with an online costume store or a tailor before? Please feel free to share your experience down below, because I know I can't be the only one who has had this sort of experience. And what about you? How do you feel personally about buying a costume or making it yourself? Like, I was in the camp before where I was like, I make all my costumes, but I don't hate the idea of buying, if it works for me. But now I'm in the camp where, if I physically have the capability to do it myself, I'm going to, because I no longer trust other people. My trust was broken. So how do you feel? And feel free to share your stories. But that is all I have time for today, so I will catch you all next time. And until then, stay creepy.